Well, Australians will be heading to the polls in a matter of months, and this morning there's a pre-election push to get Aussie businesses going again.
Do you know the date yet?
Not yet. May?
You're working on it. For more, we're joined by the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry CEO, Andrew McKellar from Canberra. I think he knows. Andrew, good morning to you. Look, it must be a bit frustrating, I reckon, for businesses when they see the government expansion of the public service and government spending, right?
Good morning, Carl. Good morning, Sarah. Great to be with you early on a Friday. Look, that's exactly right, Carl. I think if you look at what's happening to business at the moment, small business in particular has been doing it tough over the past couple of years. They're looking for interest rate relief. We really have a two-speed economy. We're seeing government expanding. We're seeing spending at high levels. We've got to get that under control. And in particular, you know, we've got to get spending back under 25% of GDP if we're going to be in a position where fiscal policy and monetary policy are pushing in the same direction. That's how we'll get interest rates lower sooner and keep them lower.
The US has always had lower rates, right? And Trump wants to drop the US's rate to 15. You want to see a 30% drop in the company tax rate here in Australia. Is that viable?
Look, it has to be a priority. It's been a quarter of a century since any government in Australia tried genuine tax reform. You're right. We're seeing the new administration in the US, President Trump, saying he wants to get company tax there down to 15%. That'd be half the rate in Australia. If we can't get closer to that, then we're going to be uncompetitive. We risk seeing investment and jobs by Australian companies going offshore, and we would risk on missing out in investment from international companies.
The Treasurer was on the show yesterday and everywhere saying that we're heading for a soft landing out of all of this. But I don't see too many soft landings for small businesses out there.
Look, that's totally right, Carl. Small business really have been struggling. Yeah, look, turning around interest rates, that'll be step one. But the other area where they're really suffering at the moment is the impact of regulation, red tape. It's just getting harder and harder for small businesses to cope with all of that. If they want to create a job, if it's a casual job or they want to take on an independent contractor, it's just getting so hard for them. So we've really got to have government focused on that, provide some relief, and that's where we're saying government has got to put some priority.
I mean, it's little wonder Australia's not the most attractive place to start a business, right? I mean, and when we see America and China, for example, locked in that AI race, I can't imagine something like that happening here.
Well, we've got to focus on that. I mean, AI is a huge opportunity for Australian business. We're seeing in the US major strategy being announced. They're really trying to get in front of the curve. The Chinese will want to compete. We're seeing the Europeans coming in. So, look, it's a huge opportunity. We shouldn't be afraid of it. We've got to put some guardrails in place. We need to build trust. But, for business right across the board, this is really something that can unlock major gains, and I think it will create new jobs, new opportunities for the future.
I think a lot of small businesses are just hanging out for that election, aren't they? So what date do you think it'll be?
Yeah, come on, you must know.
Look, hard to say. I mean, I've been expecting them to go sooner rather than later. Look, the latest they can go, I guess, is May 17. Look, bring it on. I say, let's get it done and let's get it all resolved.
Good to talk to you, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrew. Voter sentiment for the Labor government is down, according to a recent news poll. Richard, the PM's approval is declining. Rudd, Gillard, Abbott, Turnbull, Morrison all lost their leadership after suffering the same fate. Is it too late for you guys to turn things around?
Look, we are focused on serving the Australian people, dealing with cost of living relief, and we will tell our story at the next election, and we are confident about that. I mean, I know that Peter is getting very excited about the opinion polls. You see him kind of sneaking around the ministerial wing with his measuring tape, working out where he's going to be putting his pot plants. But that's not our focus. Our focus is on serving the Australian people, and ultimately they get a say in this, and we'll see that on election day.
Pete, before you start measuring where to put the pot plants, you're going to have to win over the female voters. They've abandoned you, the younger women.
Sarah, I just want to say that, I mean, if you look at Richard Marles there, he's lost weight. He's got a new suit that fits him this year. He's looking sharp. He's looking sharp. And I tell you what, when the leader aspirant starts to lose weight and gets a new suit, it's game on. So, Richard,
this is not true.
I think there's a
when are you going to fly the
It's
starters
not true.
gun? Get rid of this guy, for goodness sake, for the sake of the country.
Look,
There's a
we
challenge.
are looking forward to election day, and we are very much looking forward to telling our story. And you know, each and every day we're about cost of living relief, and whether it's been tax cuts or energy bill relief, you can be sure that this government is about trying to put that in place. You can also be sure that Peter's out there trying to stop it, and that's the story that we'll be telling come the next election.
Moving on, and all big four banks now believe the RBA will cut interest rates when they meet in February. Now, Swanee, you've had some choice words to say about the RBA. I don't want to get you into trouble again, front page news, but just in time for an election pitch.
Today.
We heading to the polls in April?
Well, we got inflation down and wages up. That's pretty good, and unemployment low.
There you go.
So the Prime Minister will determine when that is.
You're confirming it this morning, Swanee.
Confirming what? There's going to be an election.
An early one, come on.
I don't know when it's going to be, but the inflation number's a good one for the country. Forget the election. It's a fantastic outcome and very good for the Australian economy. It's good for people, and hopefully we'll see a rate cut.
You might be able to get that government spending under control before the election.
The government's done a great job. We've got low unemployment. The challenge in this economy is that we've got shortages of labour, and you were talking about that before. That's because the economy is strong. That's a great thing for the country.
All right, let me needle you this morning then. Di, how many seats will Labor lose in Western Sydney?
Oh, well, look, I'm not a specialist in that election prediction. However, I do know that in Western Sydney, in, my neighbouring seats, there are a few independents running, from Parramatta to... McMahon. Some of those seats are some really good, obviously, candidates who are local. And I think it's because people are still feeling the pain. So while we have heard inflation's gone down and people are saying that rates will go down in February, people have bled. So people are still weakened because they've lost so much blood for the 13 interest rate rises. So, we must not forget that. We must not forget the fact that people are still...
I think that's the easy pitch for the coalition, Swanee, going into this next election. And I do think it's a good thing inflation is coming down for sure, and there's been lots of hard work. But there has been blood, sweat and tears. There has been pain. And that may be too much for a lot of people.
Well, inflation in this country is now a lot lower than it is anywhere else in the world. So the government's got a fairly clear message. Good economic management, inflation coming down in an international environment which has been hostile, and record job creation and wages up. What more do you want?
Energy bills to go down, insurance costs to go down, grocery prices to go
and
down.
Lots of cost of living relief as well,
are still
including
telling me
on
that,
energy.
Wayne, sorry, it hasn't gone down.
I think that's going to be the...
And they're telling me that too.
That's going to be the issue, though, Swanee, is, are you better off than you were 3 years ago?
Well, they'll be a lot better off under us than they will be under Peter Dutton, who's going to take the axe to public expenditure and to all of the cost of living relief.
What's wrong with getting down public expenditure?
Because you might actually cause a much higher unemployment. We've come through this episode with strong employment, rising wages, lower inflation and cost of living relief.
All right,
That's
I'm going to end on
this
this
one. Outcome for people.
I'm going to
they have done it tough,
But
and they're going to want to know what you're going to do in the future.
It has been hard.